Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Gio and I make NFL prognostication videos on YouTube where we help you take the man's money. You know, one of my favorite ways of winning money betting on the NFL is winning at suicide pools. Now, if you don't know what a suicide pool is, it's pretty simple stuff. You pick one team to win every week, and if you win that game, you move on. If you lose, you're out. The last person standing wins all the money. It sounds pretty easy, and it usually is, but sometimes upsets happen. There are a few rules that you need to follow. I made a video on how to do that if you're in a pool that allows you to pick whoever you want. I'll leave a link below, and it'll give you some step-by-step guidelines to help you win in a pool like that. But there are other pools that don't allow you to pick the same team. You must pick a different team every week, and that's where it gets tricky. And that's what we're going to do in this video for the 2016 NFL season. You're going to have to take some chances with some lesser teams because there are 17 weeks. You can't just take all the good teams. I mean, there are two ways of doing this. You can load up right away and take all the really good teams and hope everyone gets eliminated, but usually if you're in a big pool, that doesn't happen. So in this video, we are going to take a few chances, especially early on, and here are my week 1 to 17 picks for the 2016 NFL season. To start off in week 1, we're going to pick the Cleveland-Philadelphia game. We'll take the Eagles at home over the Browns. Not a very good game to start the suicide pool with, but you have to understand we're betting more against Cleveland than for Philadelphia. The Browns were the worst team in the league last year, and Philadelphia should win this game, even if it's close. They should win at home. If you really want to be careful, you might take Kansas City at home over San Diego, maybe Seattle at home over Miami, or even Arizona against the Tom Brady-less New England Patriots. But then if you take those teams early on, you can't save them for later on. So this is why I want to take Philadelphia Eagles in week 1. In week 2, we'll go to Detroit, where the Lions host Tennessee. Like the Lions here, you know, they came on really strong last year. They won 6 of their last 8 games. And I realize they lost Megatron, but they've added some other wide receivers to take his place. They brought in Marvin Jones from Cincinnati, Anquan Bolden from San Francisco. Again, you're betting more against Tennessee. And Detroit is pretty good at home, so we'll take them. In week 3, we just went with Detroit. We'll bet against them as the Lions go to Green Bay, where the Packers will be having their home opener in week 3 after back-to-back on the road to start off the season. Green Bay usually dominates this division. I know because I'm a Vikings fan, and they're usually especially dominant at home. The Lions beat them last year, as did the other 2 teams in the division in Green Bay. I don't see that happening this year. I see Green Bay winning, so we'll take the Packers in week 3. In week 4, it's an interesting game as, once again, Cleveland goes to Washington. This is Robert Griffin III will be returning to his old stomping ground, and as much as he'd like to beat Washington, I think the Redskins would like to beat their old quarterback. And once again, you're betting against a bad team, and in this case, for a playoff team. So let's take the Redskins in week 4. In week 5, you've got San Diego going to Oakland. This is a division game. You try to avoid division games as much as you can, but sometimes you have to take them. San Diego was a really flaky team. They should have won more games than they did last year, but they find ways to lose. Oakland, meanwhile, is on the rise. I like the Raiders at home here in week 5, so let's go with them. In week 6, Atlanta goes to Seattle. Not much to say here. Seattle is a dominant team, and they could beat almost everybody at home. So it's Seattle's turn in week 6. Week 7, we've got Houston at Denver. The champs may not be as good as last year with Peyton Manning retired, but that defense is still lights out, and they should easily beat Houston at home. Denver's also coming off the Thursday night football game from the week before, so they'll have plenty of rest in that game. And in week 8, well, this is the game that's in London. I didn't want to take this game, but it's the only one that made sense. The Redskins are playing Cincinnati in London, and the Bengals should win this game, I think, easily enough. Washington is a decent team, but their only game, playoff game last year, I think they played Green Bay and they got whacked. So I think Cincinnati will do the same thing here. We'll take the Bengals. In week 9, Jacksonville goes to Kansas City. The Jaguars are a nice up-and-coming team, but let's face it, Kansas City is much better. We'll go with the Chiefs in week 9. In week 10, San Francisco goes to Arizona. I like Arizona in this game. They should win this game easily. Again, a division game. You don't want to take them necessarily, but sometimes you have to. You might consider the Jets are at home to the LA Rams, but I think I would take Arizona over San Francisco in week 10. Then in week 11, I like Indianapolis at home to Tennessee. Another division game, but Tennessee, again, not a good team. Andrew Luck is obviously healthy, and the Colts should be a lot better, so we'll take Indianapolis in week 11. In week 12, there's the LA Rams are going to New Orleans. I like the Saints at home in the Dome. You know, New Orleans plays a lot better at home, and they will be coming off the Thursday nighter from the week before, so they'll have plenty of rest in that game. So let's go with New Orleans. Then in week 13, we'll go back-to-back. We'll pick on LA again as they go to New England. The Patriots are very tough at home. They're tough against everybody, everywhere. So let's take New England in week 13. In week 14, we're going to take our only visiting team of the year. My Minnesota Vikings go to Jacksonville. I wanted to take Minnesota earlier on in the year, but they have a really easy road schedule, and against the Jacksonville team that is kind of like Minnesota, they're rebuilding, but maybe just a couple of years behind. I like the Vikings. I like my Vikings in this game here. They'll also be off the Thursday night game from the week before. Plenty of rest. I like Minnesota in week 14. In week 15, you have a choice. You know, you can go San Francisco at Atlanta. I like the Falcons at home. San Francisco plays outside on grass. Atlanta plays indoors in the Dome. I like Atlanta. You might want to take Dallas at home over Tampa Bay. Should be a good matchup for Dallas. Maybe Houston at home over Jacksonville. You have your choice of 3 in that game. As you're getting later on in the year, you're going to see more and more how the teams are doing, and maybe by then you'll say, well, maybe this team isn't very good. So out of those 3, you'll probably have one that you really like. And then in week 16, I like the Carolina Panthers. They made it to the Super Bowl last year. I like them at home against Atlanta. They should win that game. Their only loss in the regular season was in Atlanta, but I like them at home in that matchup. And then in week 17, it's a tough week because sometimes teams rest their players, but if it's still a relevant game, I like Pittsburgh over Cleveland in that game. Okay, so those are my picks for the 2016 NFL Suicide Pool. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so already, and we'll see you all throughout the year as I make my weekly picks. Okay, for the Geo Knows YouTube channel, I am Geo. Let's take the man's money.